I've just gotten to the point in my life, 41 years old, is that no matter who you are, we all have something that we need to get over or can get over. And you just got to get to a point where you just have to accept it, understand that, yes, these are things that can hold me back, but I can also overcome these things.
Hey, welcome to All Things Wood Floor, brought to you by Wood Floor Business. I'm your host, Steve Diggins, with Wood Pro, a division of Horizon Forest Products. I'm also a technical writer and editor for Wood Floor Business magazine. And listen, I say this only because you better believe it. Wood Floor Business is for the wood floor brilliant. This episode, I sit down with Courtney Lee, owner and president, Truman's Hardwood Floor Refinishing and Cleaning. Courtney shares how he got into the business through his carpet cleaning company and how the two mesh today. There are relatively few black men and women in the hardwood flooring industry today, and Courtney shares with us his experience and thoughts regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout his entire life and throughout his brilliant flooring career. East Coast, West Coast, North Pole to South Pole, and all points in between. It is great to have Courtney Lee of Truman's Hardwood Flooring Refinishing, Lawrenceville, Georgia. Welcome to All Things Wood Floor and Floor Pros around the world. Let's get to it. How you doing, Courtney? I've never met you.
How you doing, man?
I am doing good. Welcome to All Things Wood Floor. We made it.
Yes, sir. And yes, I love wood floors.
I know, right?
My new passion.
We got plenty to talk about. I don't know how people get into this industry, but we're going to break it apart, dissect it, and analyze it. Now, you're in Lawrenceville, Georgia?
Yeah, Lawrenceville, Georgia, about 30 miles from Atlanta.
From Atlanta, like between Athens and Atlanta, right about there?
Yep. Yep. We're between Athens and Atlanta. Yes, sir.
Question for you. It's Truman's Hardwood Floor Refinishing and Cleaning.
Well, hardwood floor, yes, cleaning and refinishing.
Okay, good. And I asked that because looking over your profile and talking to the folks at Wood Floor Business Magazine, Kim was saying we have an article come out with a few different people. It'll be online and it'll be in hard print. And yours was in there. And she said to start with a question that you started out in the carpet cleaning business.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that one.
So basically, at the age of 19, back then, that's when you can find jobs, in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which is, the newspaper.
Sure.
And I was looking in this newspaper one day, looking for a new opportunity, and I saw this ad that said hard work, high pay. And I never forget it. When I called it, it was a carpet cleaning company, and they said, yeah, we're always looking for technicians, come down, Pacific Day, and let's do an interview. And of course, it turned into, me working for this company. At the time, I didn't know, because it was the first time I started cleaning carpet, but it was what you call a bait and switch company. So they use low price tactics to market, to get into the homes. And then when they get in the house, try to basically raise the price as much as possible. So that's how I got into the carpet cleaning industry. And then after that, man, I just worked for a lot of other companies. And then at the age of 28 is when Truman Steamers, started. And I just basically built a great name for myself in the carpet cleaning industry. Throughout the years, of course, I had to work on myself first. So I actually had to reset my business after 5 years, because what happened, I tried to take those same tactics of those companies that I worked for with low prices, and didn't realize, especially when you're a small guy or owner operator, it's really a race to the bottom. It's not a business model that's meant for, owner operators or companies that have like a small crew. Because one thing I realize now is that when you're small, you need to try to focus on making as much profit as possible. And unfortunately, those type of business models just don't match, people like us.
What was it at first? Steaming, vacuuming, cleaning, all that stuff? Just carpet.
Carpet cleaning, mainly hot water extraction, upholstery cleaning. And then I started, getting into the tile and grout cleaning. With carpet cleaning, you deal with a lot of pet issues, urine, things like that. So that's the most part of the hardwood. The carpet cleaning. Now, when it comes to the hardwood floors, the carpet cleaning industry has always tried to add the maintenance part of the hardwood floor services to the cleaning because it kind of goes hand in hand. But unfortunately, you don't see a lot of companies doing it, especially big change companies like Stanley and Zero Reyes. They were doing it, but they don't even do it anymore. At least the ones in my area, because as you know, and I know, with hardwood floors, there's a lot of risk. And one of the main risks with hardwood floors is if you don't know what you're doing, you don't understand what you're doing, you can turn $1,000 cleaning job into a $10,000 sanding job,
Sure.
and that's what these companies were doing because, when they got 30, 40 people going out and these individuals are not highly trained with maintaining floors, it's just a setup for disaster. And that's what happens with a lot of these big companies that try to tap into the wood floor maintenance. That's what I call it, the wood floor maintenance side, which I believe just have so much potential, man. In this industry, I believe that so many companies and individuals are just sleeping on wood floor maintenance. And I really believe, and I'm not trying to boast myself up, but I believe that I'm on the right track of bringing the hardwood floor maintenance side of the business, kind of bringing it alive and let people know that there's a need for it. And, we don't have to always resort on full sands or replacement when we can just sometimes just maintain it and just make it look better. Because that's what the customer just really wants. They don't want a full sand. They don't want to replace. They just want to make it look better. And there is in anything, there is a takeaway, So yes, you can sand your floors for $5-6 a square foot, have a perfect floor. You want to be out the house for days, it's more time consuming. Or you can have your floors made, if possible. That's why I tell my potential clients, you can maintain the floors. We can screen or recoat them for a fraction of the price. It's not going to be perfect. We're usually done in one day. So that's where a lot of people, that's where I believe in giving people options.
How long have you been doing it since the carpet cleaning part of it? How long have you been doing the hardwood flooring part of it?
Well, the hardwood floor side, I got into the maintenance about 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago. I was introduced by a old colleague, just cleaning, maintaining floors with a 175 buffer with a white pad and a red pad. And basically would use the red pad with a neutral cleaner, squeaky clean, to just basically scrub it and let the red polishing pad basically just extract as much dirt as possible, and then follow up with a white polishing pad to kind of buff it out. But, again, that was just my first introduction to the wood floor maintenance. So then after that, I took a basic coatings maintenance class, and that's when I invested in the Dirt Dragon, and I got better understanding of really cleaning floors and also removing acrylic wax, which a lot of hardwood guys like. I'm in this group called the Dust Life. Great group. And I remember when I first got in that group, man, I was showing some of my videos of me taking wax off floors, and those guys, they were just blown away. I have guys that was messaging me. Like, I've been doing hardwood floors for 20, 30 years. I've never seen nothing like that.
I watched those videos. I freaked out. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Most guys would say, like, find anybody you want. Just don't give this to me. You had a little, like, square buff, and you were cutting cross grain and taking wax out, and that stuff's brutal. Did you not just wax, but go back a second? You must have got into that learning curve where you're trying to go out and coat a floor that's probably got aluminum oxide and ceramics in it, and you probably found out the hard way this doesn't always work without a bonding agent or some type of special cleaning. Did you run into that too?
Actually, I will say, I guess I just call it this perfect timing, but I have never had a floor, a pre-finished floor. I got it. I got directed to the right people in the right time when I started, because I've only been screening and recoating for about the last 4 years. So screening and recoating, I was doing the cleaning first, and then I got into the wax removal. And what really drew me into the screening and recoating is when you're dealing with solid floors, site finished floors, and when you have people that's been putting wax on their floors for 5, 10 years with layers and layers and layers, you don't know what those floors look like once you take that, until you take that wax off. So a lot of times when I took the wax off, I was having homeowners blaming me, like, look at my floors, because the floors would be patchy. It would have like areas where it was missing stain, missing
Stains.
polyurethane. And I'm like, no, I didn't ruin your floors. I just took the wax off. So that's when I said, you know what? So I started doing research, and I actually connected with a few guys that own Mr. Sandless franchises.
I was going to ask you about that. Okay.
Yep, I gotta give credit to those guys, Luciano and the other guy. Oh my God, I gotta give him a shout out. Tom, I think his name is Tom. But those guys actually gave me some great tips, and that's when anytime I do a wax removal off of site finish floor, I always follow up with a screen and recoat, because 95% of those floors are going to lack urethane, polyurethane, floor protection, or even sometimes stain is going to be missing. So those guys really gave me some great tips. And then they introduced me to Austin Mitchell, who's the owner of Procoat. And then I connected with Austin about 2 years ago, and he gave me some great tips, and he introduced me to his products. And one of my favorite products to this day is Procoat Aqua Pro. And that's when I started using that product on site pre-finished floors, and just always had great success with it.
Austin Mitchell's name just came up. Sprigland called me and said, if you don't call Austin Mitchell, I'm going to smack you. And I go, what's that? He goes, it's just different. You got to talk to him about his chemistry and what he does. I heard an ad today. I was thinking about it. I was driving home from somewhere, and there was a Mr. Sandless commercial, which I'd never seen. Now, we've had franchises in our area, and they're a little hit or miss. What happens is those Mr. Sandless guys don't always follow the recipe. Then they decide, I'm going to be a hardwood floor guy. You got to kind of learn their system the right way. It's like you said, it's a different animal. When you're using a system like yours, okay, and let's say there's wax involved, how do you know when you're moving forward that, okay, now I can move forward to, let's say, a urethane coating, and I'm not going to have any problems that there might still be wax? Because wax likes to kind of find a new way to get back home again.
Yeah, so what I do now, that's why, like I said, maybe, man, out of every 100 jobs I do, maybe one might not need a screen or recoat. Because yes, that's why I always follow up with a screen or recoat. And every wax is different. And again, how many coats they have been putting on the floor. But when you have layers and layers and layers of wax on those floors, yes, you would not remove 100% of that wax with the wax removal, the chemistry side of it. So that's when I do a screen or recoat, because now that screen would basically shave off that last little bitty wax that gets into the grain of the wood. So that's why, yes. So that's why I usually always follow up with a screen or recoat, because that screen, or even sometimes I use like a surface prep pad, or even sandpaper. Sometimes you do the little X at the bottom, sure, and that would just basically just knock out that last little bitty wax that's left that the chemistry and the machine can't get.
Yeah, that mechanical bond helps. Does it? Do you have to use anything special in between, like, cleaners, bonding agents, anything? Do you have to do a little test to make sure it's gone?
Usually, as you're doing, once you get into wax removal, you just get an eye for it. It's just one of those things. Once you do it so long, you just get an eye for it. But yes, we do have special techniques that we do that I teach my guys. It's even though once we get that floor clean, once we get that floor screen, we always clean and tack it with the neutral cleaner. And that neutral cleaner will outline if there's any wax left. And then what we'll do, we'll just, repeat the process just in those areas by hand. Or sometimes I just take out like one of my little Festool or Makita palm sanders, and just take maybe a 200 grit screen and just shave that last little portion off, so we don't have any adhesion issues.
How did you go from, working and doing carpets, which you get your head in the game there too. You get really good at it. You know your stuff. And then where was the first opportunity you said, well, all right, we got a wood floor. And then how do you get legs at that and then go get the training for it? Because what you do is there's really no training for it. You better learn from somebody that knows what they're doing, or you better figure it out for yourself real quick, right?
And that's basically what it is with the maintenance side of it. You get a lot of these companies, they offer really just straight fundamental training. It's really like step 1, 2, 3. But in the real world of maintenance, there is no step 1, 2, 3. It can be step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it really just depends on the floor. and just years and years and years of just trial and error. And I will say, I've had floors. I've never had to replace a floor, but I have had floors that I had to get sanded. Sometimes the wax remover was just not enough. There was just so much wax on the floors. Like I said, once you took the wax off the floor, a screen or recoat is just not going to cut it. So I started networking. I have a great network partners in my area that if I have floors that need to be sanded, because I don't sand floors, I'm just following my path of the wood floor maintenance side of it. But I do have guys that I can network with if I need a floor sanded or if a client needs floors replaced.
That's a really interesting side of the business because a lot of really busy flooring companies, the last thing they want to be involved in is regular maintenance. When I was doing my flooring thing, I went to the dentist one day, and I remember when I walked out, he gave me a business card for like a year from then. I'm like, well, I don't know where I'm going to be a year from now, but I thought about it. If I gave all my customers a card saying, you better call me in a year for maintenance, I started doing it. And after a year, we had crews on just Friday, go out with chemicals, screen coat, buff. Maybe it needed it, maybe it didn't. If the neighbors, it's like doing a driveway. If the neighbor's there, everybody wants to get in on it. We got a deal, $1.50, $1 a foot, get out there and just do screening coats. It seems like once you get one of your floors done up, then you could probably get back on the just screening coat schedule.
Yes, yes. A lot of I've had clients in the last 4 years. I've had numerous clients have called me back and say, "Hey, Courtney, time for another screen or recoat again," because they can typically start seeing, like, especially the high traffic areas, polyurethane wearing off. So that's a good indication, when you start seeing those those areas worn out. And that's what screening is. It's just basically keeping the floor maintained so you don't have to always resort to full sanding. So again, it's just a maintenance, just keeping the floors maintained. No different than I tell clients, no different than taking your car to the car wash. You got to keep your car washed. If you don't, it's going to get dirty, and then that dirt is going to start breaking down the protective coating that protects the paint, and then it's going to start tapping into the paint. And again, man, it's just, one thing I've realized about any industry, especially this industry, is setting realistic expectations. And I think that's where a lot of my success come from, because I tell clients, screen and recoat would not it would not take care of water damage. It won't take care of pet stains. It will not take care of deep gouges, deep scratches. Now, again, when it comes to the color correction, sometimes we can attempt to add color back to the floor. And I'm going to say we got about an 80% success rate, depending on the wood species, depending on the color of the floor. So I do make sure that my clients understand, and it's in the contract when they sign off to say that we want to move forward with the services. It explains everything that a screen or recoat will and won't do.
Well, I know you do social media stuff. I've seen your stuff online, and I think recently we were able to just do the friend request thing on Facebook, so I got to see more of your stuff. You know what? It's really practical, because when you think of it, like, my wife's a realtor. And sometimes her advice is, you're selling your home, don't sand the hardwood floors. Because the next person could come in and rip them out. The next person could put a floating floor. The next person could want a stain. You're going to spend $10,000, $15,000 on that. And I saw some of your stuff, and some of the things people posted, they're not always friendly. But everybody was really supportive, and somebody said, "Oh, I see some stains." Absolutely. Would you pay for that? $1,000 instead of $10,000? If my wife as a realtor would say, you get somebody like Courtney, and let's just make them look really good. If they want to do something with them later, and sometimes there's an animal stain or something, or maybe you have to do some patchwork. It makes a lot of sense to just get somebody in that can just get something simple done on these. How many times do you go in and it's really just a buff and coat? It's just the floor is a little bit dirty.
Man, I can't tell you, Steve, how many jobs come from just that. I actually just landed a job yesterday. It's for a women's, some type of clubhouse right in the heart of Atlanta. I'm going to be doing that job on the 17th, and same thing. It's like about 3,300 square feet. And she said she had got a few estimates anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000 for a full sand. And I went in there, I looked at the floors. I said, "Do you want to change the color?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, we could do a screen and recoat." And she already done her research. And I ended up getting the job for like $6,700. Job is going to take us one day. So that's the thing about it is, with the screen and recoat, is just an option. And with my internet presence and my videos, you would be surprised how many people find me and say they have never heard of a screen or recoat?
Right.
And I tell people this, I'm 41. It's been around more than I have, but for some reason, the industry and a lot of guys that I've talked to just don't push it. And the reason why, one of the main reasons why, I was talking to a colleague yesterday that told me the reason why most hardwood floor guys don't do it is because they don't know how to identify what, if there's like cleaning agents, Murphy's oil soap, or waxes on the floor, which will, hinder a screen or recoat. So they'll just sort of go in there with a 36 grit sandpaper and just sand it down and start all over. So I think that's where a lot of the uneducated part of doing screen and recoat for those that don't want to offer it is they don't know how to test the floors to see if the floor is contaminated, because that's the most important part of screen or recoating. What I teach my guys is we have to, once we screen this floor, we have to clean this floor very, very, very thorough before we add any finish to it. Yesterday I did an engineer floor. Floor came out beautiful, but I cleaned that floor like 2 times before I put the first coat down. I wanted to make sure that floor was clean as a whistle before any new finish went on that floor.
You make a good point. We were talking earlier today about gymnasiums and how they have to be really super flat in 1/8 and 10 feet. And the contractor said to me, because if I don't do that, the minute we put wood down, I own that entire concrete slab. That's what you're alluding to. I know with hardwood flooring people, they don't want to touch anything contaminated that could go wrong that they didn't do, because the minute they go in, they own it. Somebody messes up a floor, they take over it. That guy's off the hook and you own it. At least you're going in educated, saying, you know what, we know what we're doing. We're going to test this. We'll figure it out. And then I think, too, once you get your system down, even a minor failure seems to be correctable. Here they go, stand here, pad there, clean it. Is it something that if you have some little hiccups, just easy to keep in the game?
Well, that's why I like water-based products, because, again, learning this throughout trial and error, I've had floors where the floors was not wax-free, where the floors was not cleaned properly. And when you put that finish down on it, it's going to reflect. It's going to show. So that's the good thing about the water-based urethanes is I can wait 3-4 hours for it to dry. Not to say it's, and I know it's not cured. And you don't want to wait till it's cured to get to its hardest point. So after 3 or 4 hours, we'll just take it off, screen it off, and go, like you said, go back and correct those issues. Then go back to reapplying the polyurethane.
But you said nobody knows. A lot of people know what a screening coat is. Well, for years we said a buffing coat. It was always called a buffing coat.
Yeah, buffing. Yep.
But it goes to your side of the business. People thought we were going to come in and polish their floors, which is not what a floor guy would do. We haven't touched wax since 1930, whatever. But when you're doing a screening coat, and you know this, okay, so you could have ceramic screens, regular silicone carbide screens, sanding pads, sanding strips, sand dollars, everything. You guys, is there pretty much everything in your bag of tricks to abrade?
Yes, I got sand dollars. I love the blue ones, the green ones.
You're the guy using the blue ones. I knew it.
I got the blue one. Again, I use the sandpaper strips. I think it's a Duracell, Dura something sandpaper strips. Screens. Man, we use anywhere from 220 screens all the way down to 80 screens.
Sure.
Depending on, like, I did a restoration floor. Was that Tuesday? Guy used this last year. He was so happy with the screen and recoat because he buy these and flip these properties, and he doesn't want to go through full sanding. He already knows about it, and he said, I'm selling these homes. I don't want to, again, go with a full sanding when I can just make it look better for sale. So, like, for example, the job that we did Tuesday, I went in, I screened it with like 100 grit screen, got their floor basically almost like what you can call it light sanding. Just got their floor flat as possible, knocked out any imperfections, and then we follow up with 1 coat of basic coating. No, I'm sorry, Bona Intense Amber Sealer. Mm-hmm. Which added some, it was a red oak, so it added a nice, color back to that floor. And then we follow up with 2 coats of poly. Floor looked unbelievable.
Now, how many crews or teams? Is it just you and the helper, you and 13 people?
Well, I'm a 3-truck operation. One of those trucks are designated strictly for the carpet, upholstery, and tile and grout cleaning, and then my other 2 trucks are focused just on hardwood floor maintenance. So I got a full-time guy, Kenneth Scobie. He's been with me for a little bit over a year, so I basically trained him up. He rode with me for about 6, 7 months, so I let him out on his own. So he now one thing about Scobie, he came from the VCT stripping and waxing,
Oh,
so he already kind of had some edge, some especially when it comes to the wax removal. But again, you can't soak down, wood like you can do VCT. But it's still kind of the same concept. And then I, of course, trained him up with the screener recoats, where he's pretty much got that down. He's, still working on him with the color correction. Like we got a job that we're doing Thursday that's going to need some color correction. So I'll be having him on that job with me, to keep educating him how to do color correction. But other than that, yeah, we're a 3-truck operation with 2 trucks mainly for hardwood floor maintenance.
The Wood Floor Business magazine in the February March issue has a whole section that's coming out about black men and women in flooring, and they quoted you in a number of places all over. And I've been doing this 40 years. I can probably count how many black customers I have around the country on just these 2 hands. One in New Hampshire, and then the others. And so, listen, I just did a podcast with Luis Perez, Dave Sharpton. You get Willie Bradley. In your area, do you find we don't get to talk to people of color in this industry very much, especially in New Hampshire and New England. What can you tell me about it in your area? Because I know you said some pretty extensive, interesting things about education and experiences. What can you tell me about that I can share with people?
When it comes, I'm in Atlanta, which is a large population of African Americans. It's the South, and you know, as African Americans, we've always been in the cleaning, industry. Even starting with slavery, and just moving on up. We've always been into janitorial. But I think a lot of it just comes from when I was asked those questions is really just a lack of education and a lack of resources. That and just not the black community, but any minority community. That's some of the things that kind of holds us back is lack of education. And also too, it can be a lack of opportunity. Because this is just real. There are times where a white guy can go give a contract and a black guy can go give a contract, and the white guy would get it just because based off his color of his skin. So a lot of those things are real, and they do play a part in our service industry. But me, I find ways to really not focus on race when it comes to business. And I think a lot of that is how you conduct yourself, how you carry yourself. Because to be honest, if you watch a lot of my YouTube videos, I'm going to say about 90% of my clients are white.
Right.
Hey, Wood Floor Pros, this is Kim Walgren, the longtime editor of Wood Floor Business. If you're in the wood flooring industry, make sure you sign up for your free subscription to Wood Floor Business. You'll get 6 regular issues, plus our annual resource book issue that is the directory for the entire wood flooring industry. If you're a pro outside the US and Canada, you can sign up for a digital subscription. Just go to woodfloorbusiness.com and click on the magazine link. That's it for now. Let's get back to Stephen's chat with Georgia pro Courtney Lee.
Well, it's about what equity, diversity, being inclusive with people. It's interesting you say that, because when you look at the country overall and you say that, like I went to college down in the South, it's different. Like people will come up here and they aren't surprised. In my area, we have one black flooring contractor. Even he's not surprised. He told me he's probably the only black kid in his high school. I don't know if it's just the fact that we have 9 months of terribly cold weather. Up until a decade ago, I could go skiing and not see a black man on the slopes. And now you see people of all kinds everywhere. This country, it's changed in so many ways. But do you think the hardwood flooring industry, it's just new to the hardwood flooring industry, or historically the industry holds people of color back?
I think now it's not an excuse. I mean, this is 2023.
Right.
I just believe, man, everybody, I don't care who you are, man, woman, race, religion, where you from, everybody has something that can hold them back. It's all about just getting over that hurdle. You can be a white guy with, like you said, growing up in a all black neighborhood. When I grew up in a 99.9% all black neighborhood. We had three white brothers that we grew up with. And what was funny is, as a young kid, you really don't know about the negative side of race.
Right.
So when Tim, Brandon, and I forgot the other brother's name, when we used to play, they would come to our house, we'll go to their house, and again, we were just kids, So my thing is this: everybody has a story. Everybody can say, "Oh, because of my color. Oh, because of my finances. Because of my upbringing. Oh, I grew up in a single parent home. I grew up, I was on drugs. I went to jail, and I'm a convicted felon. So I've just gotten to the point in my life, 41 years old, is that no matter who you are, you we all have something that we need to get over or can get over, and you just got to get to a point where you just have to accept it, understand that yes, these are things that can hold me back, but I can also overcome these things. Because man, I'll tell you is that people, when you find really good genuine people out here, those things, a lot of people, don't really, they don't hold you accountable for those things. Like me, I'm the type of person, I believe in one thing: either you're a good person or you're a bad person. That's it. I don't care about you being black, white. Either you're a good person or you're not.
Well, yeah, see, this is something you probably don't know about me, but I am from a predominantly white family, and nobody in my history ever said, we got to get us into some flooring. It's probably what they would say the hell out of. But you're right. I see you see that out there. And, I've seen people up and down the East Coast, out in California. You never know. There are people involved in the sales and design and engineering part of it. There are people involved in distribution and sales and manufacturing, et cetera. But it's obviously lacking that they're physically people of color not out there doing the install, sand, fin. And you said it. Some people are coming up now from the maintenance part of it. And I wonder if, do you start to see that part of it and say, wow, looks like could be pretty lucrative over there if I were to start slapping down some wood and sanding and finishing it. For you, it doesn't seem like you got a nice little niche going for yourself, right?
Yes, yes. Again, man, I'm not gonna say I feel like I'm just walking God's path, the path that He wants me to be on. Because when you look back, like for example, I've only been doing hardwood floors full time for the last 2 years, and what happened is after cleaning carpets for almost 19 years, I had just got burnt out with it. It just got boring to me, and I just started praying and asking God to just open up new opportunity and new doors, because one thing about me, once I don't have passion for it, a love for it, it's time to let it go.
Right.
Because I'm not going to give my clients the service that they deserve from a person like me, and especially the prices that I'm charging. And that's one thing that also showed me is just because you raise your prices doesn't mean it's going to bring back your passion. And this is why I see why guys can go out here and make $10-15 million to play a game and don't have the passion for it like they did 5 or 10 years ago. So what happened was, man, I the 2020, the end of 2020 going into 2021, I just started getting, like, out of nowhere, Steve. I just started getting all these calls about hardwood floors. Do you clean wood floors? My wood floor? I put Boner on my floors. I put Quick Shine on my floors. And it was like from October to like going into like Christmas time. And it was almost like I was going from maybe doing maybe 2 to 4 wood floor jobs a month to almost 2 to 4 jobs a week in that last quarter of 2020. And something just clicked like it always does. And I said, you know what, Courtney, what if you took the same energy and focused on wood floor maintenance the same way you've been doing carpet cleaning for the last 19 years and just made it a full-time service? And the rest was history. And now I'll tell you this, what happened was I actually reached out to the Mr. Sandless that's here in Atlanta. And the owner name is Donna. And she actually talked to me. And I told her who I was. And she said, yeah, I've seen some of your videos and they don't do wax removal. But I talked to her and I said, well, how many trucks do you have? She said, we have 4 trucks. And when she told me that was my motivation right there.
Well, you get the right idea. I can tell you this. I do consulting for people in all aspects of it. And you ask anybody that works with me, I just help build a company down in Washington. My advice to them is don't get involved in this. And they think I'm kidding them. I say, if you know what we know about flooring and how involved it is and how we got our lives into it and how it took decades to learn, you might not want to just go start a franchise or get out and do these things. Well, I had a company in Boston that has fleets of carpet cleaning companies. And they had a nephew that married into it was a son-in-law married into the family. And they thought, you know what, there's money in flooring. So they bought him about $40,000 in equipment, sent him to every school, sent him to me. His first 3 jobs, we had to hire people to redo. It was a miserable failure. He had to sell everything. He took it too far. If he had just done what you had done and said, there's a lot of calls here for just clean, prep, you could do them faster. You can do them quicker, neater, cleaner. If something goes wrong, you can adjust on the fly. And you're not putting $30,000 equipment into a vehicle. You're also not spraying, soaking, wetting, dampening, telling people to dry. It sounds like a really good model. And everybody I know in the industry would call you and say, I don't want to do this. You do it. Because they have other things to do. You could probably do. How many jobs do you do a week like this?
Oh, man, on a good week, bro, Steve, man, we can do anywhere from, with both trucks, 10, 15 jobs, averaging $2,200 a job.
Well, and most flooring people think, well, okay, we're going to be here for 3 to 5 days with the same. It could be much longer. And then maybe we have some other crews, and those crews aren't quite as trained to do the same thing as other crews. You're in, you're out. I mean, you should follow every floor guy around and give them your card and say, when they just want to clean it up, I'm your guy.
And actually, I have a few guys that does that. That don't do this, and like you said, they just don't have time for it because one sanding job can take them anywhere from 5 days to a couple weeks. And that's something, man, that's another thing that I hear a lot of my clients say, and this is where I think the hardwood floor industry needs to get better at teaching the new consumers. Because one thing that I hear people tell me all the time when they find me, so you mean to tell me there's going to be no dust and there's not going to be no harsh smells and I'm not going to be out of my house for 1 to 2 weeks because last time we had our floor sanded, there was dust everywhere and my house stunk for 2 weeks and I just don't want to go through that no more. So what I've realized, a lot of clients that I hear, it's not even about the money, it's just the convenience. And I think that the hardwood floor industry, because I know the equipment that these guys have now, where they can sand the floor with these new systems and these new drum sanders hooking up to these vacuum systems and virtually have no dust in the house. But guess what? The average consumer who had the floor sanded 10, 15, 20 years ago, they don't know that.
No. No, well, it's interesting how it all comes down, the history of flooring. So you talk to people that grew up in the 70s, let's say, and they'll say, well, I didn't want a hardwood floor because when I grew up, they were freezing cold. Yeah, because you went through a time when your parents couldn't afford to heat the house. Heat the wood floor, it holds the heat. Make it cold, it keeps it cold. The biggest problem was, I remember people my age would say, I just remember my mom's floors were beautiful, but she was constantly waxing, constantly buffing. You bring in your boots and sand and mud. Now there's a problem. It's a little different because you're not laying more wax down on the floor in most cases. You're getting that out and going to something they can keep clean, like your thing.
Well, yes, and that's why I educate my clients. And one thing about waxes, they don't cure. They don't cure.
They layer up.
That's the main problem. So that's why you see scuff marks. That's why you see it peeling off. That's why we can, take a chemical and remove it. You can't do polyurethane. Polyurethane has to be, abrade it off, So that's one thing I teach the clients. This is why you're having this issue. This is not a true floor finish. This is just make it look good temporarily, but it's going to have long-term issues, in the long run. Because most people, put it like this, if the average person knew how to really use those products, put it on the floor 6 months, when it starts looking bad or wearing off, clean the floor, reapply it. But it would have to be a continuous maintenance where you can have your floor screen or recoated with, premium good polyurethanes. And I know all polyurethanes aren't equal. Because when I first started doing screen and recoats, that's where a lot of my issues were cheap polyurethanes.
Sure.
I used to have a lot of bubbling issues. Just oh man, I mean, I'm not going to name any of those products because I don't have to because you already know. But once I got introduced to the better polyurethanes, I mean, the quality of my work just stood out like a sore thumb. So that's the thing is when it comes to those waxes that a lot of people put on the floor, they just don't know it's just going to create long-term issues. And this when you have to find a company that can either sand it off or like a company like me that can strip it off and then, get the floors looking back good to their original state.
Is it one and done for you, or when you're done, do you say, you know what, you might want to look at us in a year to 3 to 5 and see what this looks like?
Oh yeah, people ask me all the time because I always tell clients, yes, I tell clients how to, take care of the floors, how to clean them. But at the end of the day, cleaning your floor yourself, you just cleaning part, it's just going to get to a certain point. You're going to have a professional clean, and that's why I think the maintenance side of this industry, like I said, has such potential because like one of the hardest floors to clean, a lot of people don't realize, is luxury vinyl plank floors.
Yes.
That floor is hard to clean, and I cannot tell you how many times I've been hired. People find me on YouTube, brand new luxury vinyl plank floors. They get that construction dust in the grooves of those luxury vinyl, and they just cannot get it out. And I have floors that I have literally saved people. I had one job. We went to Alabama last year and did brand new luxury vinyl plank floor. Lady said they had 4 cleaning companies to try to, because they was doing construction in the house, and a lot of that construction dust got impacted in those little tiny grooves of the luxury vinyl plank floor, and nobody could remove it. And they found me on YouTube. The builder found me on YouTube and called me and said, "Hey man, well, you are our last resort. We got this floor here in Alabama, and this lady wants us to replace it. And if we replace it, it's going to cost us about 30 grand. Do you think you can save these floors?" So of course, they sent me pictures and a few videos, and I looked at it. I said, "I'm pretty confident I can save that floor." And of course, I went down to Alabama, and and I saved the floor for $5,000.
I read in some part of that article that you actually do some training and take people out and train them, or do ride-alongs or something. Explain that one to me.
I do ride-alongs, man, and I actually started doing ride-alongs when I was cleaning carpet. Yeah. So and again, I think it's just timing. I never thought I would be teaching people how to do what I do. So I had cleaners that will reach out to me and say, "Hey, Courtney, how much would you charge me to come ride with you?" And I'm like, "Ride with me?" And I remember the first guy that reached out to me, he was from Florida. And he said, "Hey, man, I've been watching a lot of guys on YouTube, and I really want to get into this carpet cleaning business, but I want to learn from you. And what would it take?" And at first I thought it was a joke. And his name was Josh. And I said, "Well, I don't know, man. I've never done nothing like this before." He said, "Well, I'm not going to do any carpet cleaning I'm not going to invest in any equipment unless I can learn strictly from you." So I said, "Well, let me think about it." And of course, after I got off the phone with him, it just slipped my mind. In about 3-4 days, he called me back. He said, "Did you think about it?" I said, "Man, this guy is serious." And I told the guy, so I'm going to be honest with you, man. I've never done this before. I don't even know where to start. He said, "Courtney, I just want to come work with you for 3 to 4 days. I've done some classes, but these classes are just like in a warehouse where they cut out a piece of carpet, and it's not real to me. I want to really feel the real world side of carpet cleaning." And I'm gonna tell you, and to prove that he was serious, he sent me a picture of his ID, and he sent me a screenshot of his bank account, and he had like 130 grand in it. And he said, "You just make a price." And I said, "Okay." I said, "For 3 days, you can come ride with me for $2,000. And he came and rode. He sent me the money, and he came and rode with me for 3 days. And I remember we went and sat down and ate dinner on the last day. And I asked him, because I'm nervous, I've never done this. And I said, "Let me ask you a question, Josh. Was this worth $2,000 for you?" And I said, "Just be honest, because I want to know if somebody else see this, and they ask about it, I want to make sure that I'm giving people quality, services." And this is what he told me. He said, "Courtney, I'm going to be honest with you." He said, "If you would have told me $5,000, I would have paid it."
Damn. There's a number in here somewhere.
Yep. So for that first couple of years, man, again, off of YouTube and my presence of, my Cleaners Connect group, I started having other guys want to get into the business, coming out riding with me. I actually raised my ride along prices to $4,000 after Josh told me that. And I had companies that would hire new technicians and send them to me for 3 days for $4,000.
It saves them a lot
And
of time.
yeah, so I did that. And then when I got into the hardwood floor side of it, the same thing. I had a guy ask me, Courtney, can I come and do a ride along with you for hardwood floors? I said, sure. And I use and I also have a private group where I share more insight, more tips and tricks of how I do things. So I actually had that group for the last couple of years. So yeah, that's how I got into it, man. I never thought I would. I never did it, intentionally to say, hey, I want to show you how to do carpet and hardwood floor. This is from people asking me to do it.
The people I know that have got into this, similar to what you do, that's what it was. They get tired of being in a house where they would do everything, and someone would say, can't you, while you're here, just do my dining room, hardwood floors? And they would say no. And then guys were getting 50 cents a foot. Well, all of a sudden, at $3.50 a foot a few years ago, they're like, sure I can. And then now they're calling me, and I got carpet people calling me, asking me, well, how do I buff and coat, screen and coat, whatever you want to call it. And now they're doing what you do. So what was the inspiration? Was that it? Now you're riding around going, people want my knowledge to do this. Let's put it all together.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. If I heard the Joker say on The Dark Knight, a quote that I live by: if you're good at something, don't do it for free.
No. You got a lot of quotes. I saw some of yours. One said, every thought that I think is great, so everything I do is great. I like that. You live by a lot of philosophies that I think hold true, right?
Yes, sir. A lot of philosophy quotes. Zig Ziglar, he has one of the best quotes that I live by. If you help enough people get what they want, you always have what you want. Exactly. So I'm a big believer in giving, as you see that. I believe in just giving, motivation, inspiration, education. And it's just something I do, man. I've been doing that for years. A lot of people, I've been criticized for it. And especially in the carpet cleaning industry, because, again, I still consider myself as a carpet cleaner because I've been in the industry for so long. And I've done so much for the community. But the carpet cleaning industry, it brings in a lot of even people like myself who really don't have a lot of opportunity, but you're looking for opportunity because it's such an easy industry to get into. I mean, you can go get a portable for $2,000. Next thing you know, you're a professional carpet cleaner. But with that, with that being said, when it comes to the industry within the whole, it's just so many people they look for us, guys like us who have walked the path and been there, done that. Just like, for example, there's a guy here in Atlanta, the Rosebud Company. His name is Michael Purser.
Here's my second podcast.
Michael?
Yeah. Fox Theater in Atlanta. Yeah, Spriglin and Michael and I want to do a Deadliest Catch. Several floor pros get together and talk about stuff. And I know he does a lot of chemical. He doesn't use a sander, the whole thing.
Yes, I actually got the opportunity to work with him.
Great dude.
He actually hired me to remove wax from a floor for him before he recoated. And all this time, I thought he was a sander. And when I met him, he said, no, Courtney, I do not sand floors. I do what you do. I do buff and coat with color correction. And that guy told me, he said, let me tell you something, Courtney. Do not get off your path.
Right.
Stay on this path. You have Paul Nelson. You know Paul Nelson?
He was our other podcast just before that. And Mike Hoy. Yes, there's a bunch of them.
I talked to Paul Nelson, and the same thing, man. He told me, he said, Courtney, you got something special going? Michael told me, he said, do not, I don't care how many people try to convince you, do not get into wood floor sanding. You find somebody who does that and just let them do it. Courtney, stay on this path that you're doing because I'm telling you that you're going to do something special. This is what Michael told me because he found me on YouTube and he said, I am just blown away with these videos. And it was such a pleasure working with him, man, because, again, he's one of those guys. I was actually following him on YouTube for all those years. And then here it is. I call it the universe brought us together, and it was just so fun to work with him on that project.
Yeah, we run into all these people, and they all have words of wisdom. They're starting to separate exactly what they do. And I deal with fiber flooring contractors every day, and the most treacherous question is, well, whose name would you give me? Well, I don't see their work typically. I don't know the good, the better, the best. And then, as you know, how do I know that the two best guys don't have two crews that aren't even close to as good as they are? You never know it. And we have some really excellent, fine quality people. My customers are fantastic. But I think when you look at it, what is it with what you're doing? How do you separate yourself from one? You have a different type of business, but how do you separate yourself from other companies that are in a similar field?
One thing about me, and this is why I like people always, guys will always say, "Oh, Courtney, once you just hire guys to do the work, you just sit in the office and just, collect checks, with your feet up." And I'm just not. That's just not me. I'm the guy. I like to be in the field. I'm a people's person, as you probably see that. So I just can't sit at the desk and just micromanage. I like to get out, do the work, because this is what I enjoy doing. But one of the things, man, that I can say that separate myself is video marketing. That camera, this cell phone, for years. I mean, I used to have guys, I would never record in someone's home. You're violating people's privacy, and I would never let you come in my home and record. And I would just laugh. And now I see a lot of these same guys that was criticizing me 5-10 years ago trying to do the same thing. I had guys, it's just crazy how it just comes back around. But my thing is, when I first started doing videos, of course, I would ask the homeowners. I would say, hey, Mr. Steve, I do YouTube videos just to promote my work. And I won't put you, your family, or your, possessions in the camera. Just focus on what we're doing, the carpets. And I will tell you, Steve, over 10 years since I've been recording, 10 years, I can count maybe on one hand how many people told me no. Maybe 3 or 4 people. I've actually had clients that got mad because I didn't record their project because maybe the floors wasn't, because when you watch something, you want to watch a transformation. So really, there was like, from a camera angle, you're really not going to see that transformation. So I wouldn't record it. And I had clients that would call me and say, hey, Courtney, you did my floors earlier, and I went on YouTube, or I went on your Facebook channel. I didn't see my video. When can I? And I'll say, oh, well, your floors wasn't that bad, so I didn't record. Oh, Courtney, I wanted to show it to my friends. So now, I'm not gonna say I don't really have to ask, because I still ask, but most people just suspect it now.
Well, I saw one the other night. I was looking at your YouTube channel, and it was really funny because I don't know you, and you get the camera and you say, I'm at this lady's house, and here we go. And I'm like, oh, Courtney, no. She's probably running away in curlers. Oh, no, she practically took the phone out of your hand. She goes, let me tell you about him and what his crew did. Glowing, gushing, glowing. I think she thought she was on television, and then I'm like, hey, that worked out pretty good. Who's going to say nicer things than the people that you just work for? Listen, one person's got a complaint, they tell 25 people. One person loves your work, they'll tell 5 really good quality people who tell other people, and then you just start getting referral after referral, and you have a reputation with it, which just seems like that's what you do. And I think you said in that video too, I think you said one of the things that is that people just love to see you go to work every day.
Yes. I mean, and that's another thing, man. When people see you doing it I'm going to say every day, but almost every day, that gives them security. That gives them insurance that, man, this company really knows what they're doing. We go out of state. We went to Tennessee 3 times 2 weeks ago.
I wonder do you get the opportunity even in something that's a little larger scale where you can go, hey, give me a closet, give me something, give me a dining room. Let me show you what we can do. I mean,
usually the only times I do what I call a demo is usually for the wax, because sometimes people, they don't know really how their floors look. So what I do like a demo of where I go in there. I might emulsify like a small area and then take the wax off, and that shows them how the floors look with the wax removed. And that's just a good selling point to show people, because seeing is believing. So that's really the only service that I do where I have to show people how the floors look for the most part when we do the wax removal.
So do you have a particular philosophy on how you handle clients from, meeting them, greeting them, selling them your product, and closing it all out? Is there a particular philosophy at that?
So to answer your question, really no, because like I said, 80% of my jobs, when people find me on my website, they find me from YouTube. I mean, I have clients say, Courtney, me and my husband have been up all night just watching your videos. So again, with my video marketing and branding, my company, I really don't have to do a lot of explaining to clients, because when they find me, or let's say they just find me from Google and they just call me and I say, hey, did you get a chance to check us out on YouTube? Oh, no. I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link of my YouTube channel. Just feel free and watch some videos so you can kind of get an idea of who we are and how we do business and how we can take care of your floors. And that also, helps, land a lot of jobs. So that's what people would do. They will go to YouTube, they'll watch some of the videos, and again, it does the selling for me. So the more they watch the videos, the more they find me, on Facebook, Instagram, they read my reviews, they see before and after pictures. It just lessens the explaining part for me. Well, I just go do an estimate. This is what it's going to take for us to service your floors. Let us know if you're ready.
Did you spend several hours in the self-improvement aisle? That's all I ever did. If I had downtime, I just felt like someone said, you should just learn everything. And I get into a lot of things, but I would go straight to a bookstore, go down to the self-improvement aisle. And like you said, I mean, I did an entire Anthony Robbins program, and people thought I was crazy, but I just thought that whole pursuit of excellence and the things I was learning, and he would say, go everywhere. Like Zig Ziglar, you learn 1% of something, and you're moving forward. You've got traction. One of my favorite things I've ever heard anybody say was, success is the result of good judgment. Good judgment is the result of experience, and experience is often the result of very poor judgment.
Yes,
Got to break some eggs. You gotta break eggs to make an omelet. There's a lot you can learn. Sadly, and you don't focus it when you have large mistakes. Those are the ones you learn the most from.
Yeah, and that's why I really, again, man, just staying in my lane. I have guys, from some of these groups say, Courtney, you will make a good sander, man, because you take so much pride, in what you do. And, I probably make a good, a congressman.
Yeah.
But, I just want to just follow, my heart and because I feel like you just said earlier, I feel like when you home in and you just focus on that one thing, and I heard Tyler Perry say this. He's definitely a big influencer for me, because just to see where he came from. And he said something before. He said, every time I see friends, I turn around. 1 minute they're doing this, and the next minute they're doing that. Today they're in real estate. Tomorrow, they're trying to start a car wash. And he said, people ask me, how did you get to this point? How did you get there? He said, it's so simple. He said, I planted that one seed and I just watered it and I just fed that one seed and I just let it grow. So basically he was saying is just find that one thing and just focus on it and let that one thing create more opportunities for you instead of you trying to plant 10 seeds where it's easy to plant one seed, let that seed grow, and then you can pick from that one tree. So that's how I look at it, man. And I know that just by looking at my path, just like with the hardwood floor maintenance, this came from me being in the car. I didn't go looking for it. See what I'm saying? Yep. It just kind of fell in my lap. People asking me, Courtney, can you do this with my floors? So like I said, 10 years ago, starting out with a red pad, white pad, and squeaky clean, and then taking the basic coatings class, and one thing led to another, and meeting people. So I just believe that once you really focus on something and just follow it, I think I'm not gonna say think. I just believe it will take care of you the same way you take care of it.
Well, you have that entrepreneurial spirit. Listen, from what I've seen through my life, and my father had a large business, and I had a business and decided I'd just rather go work for other people. And then I found my technical side. I just like consulting and helping and sharing. Businesses need three components. They need entrepreneurs that take the business forward and drag it into the future. You need managers that are time conscious. They keep everything like a Swiss watch. Let's get things done today, which, by the way, as we're moving forward, these people don't always get along. And the third one is a technician. Technician, like you're saying, we learn everything and we drag everybody back to the past. Before we go forward, don't forget this works. And the three people are always fighting with each other and don't realize that they have to be all. My father said to me, because you need to be all three until you can find the people to hire to take those positions. And you're the entrepreneurial guy. I read some things you wrote in the article that's going to be coming out in Wood Floor Business. And I just threw some lines over what you said. You said, education first. One of my favorites is YouTube is not a teacher. People are always looking for something free, but real experience and real knowledge is key. Explain that YouTube is not a teacher. I love it. I use it. It's not a teacher.
So this era now with the World Wide Web, man, and don't get me wrong, I look at the good in everything. There's a lot of good. People say, "Oh, this is a bad world." No, it's not. This is a good world. You just got to find the good in it. But when it comes to things like YouTube and social media, I think a lot of people are trying to replace true education, true wisdom with just by watching a video. And don't get me wrong, you can watch a video and learn things, but what I try to help people understand is that YouTube, watching a few videos is not your true teacher. Watching me, I tell guys this all the time, watching me this is not your true teacher unless you're working side by side with me, because at the end of the day, those videos do not explain everything. It might seem like it does. And I can't tell you how many people say, "Yeah, man, I tried to replace my transmission and watching YouTube videos and it just didn't go right," And the video could have explained everything from A to Z. But again, if you don't have that real knowledge and understanding of what you're doing, it doesn't matter. And I've seen this so much, man, where people try to watch these videos and they just don't have the true experience. They don't have the true knowledge. That's the true teacher is experience, okay, and mistakes.
Repetition is the mother of skill.
Yes. And I've seen so many guys that have ruined floors have called me because they tried to learn just by watching videos. So I just tell guys, yes, you can get the fundamentals, you can get some type of clear understanding by watching videos, but don't expect videos to be your true to basically teach you how to do something that somebody like me and you have been doing for 10 and 15, 20 years.
I can't tell the numbers, but you can tell me what they are. It looks like you got about over 20,000 YouTube subscribers. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then, well, how did that start and how did you get so popular?
When I first wanted to build an online presence and I started going to different local, companies' websites, we all say the same thing. Customer service guaranteed. We're the best. We make your floors look like new. Everybody says the same thing. So when I was looking at these companies and when I was building my online presence about 10 years ago, I said, "Courtney, what is it that you can do that other companies are not doing?" Most companies were rarely even doing before and after pictures. The guy who had the most reviews at that time in my area had like 8 reviews on Google. And I told myself, I said, okay, most of these guys are barely doing before and after pictures. Nobody's doing videos. Right. Nobody was doing videos. And I said, well, I'll tell you what. Muhammad Ali, okay, because you see, again, I'm going back to all these scripts I hear. Muhammad Ali, you remember the Rumble in the Jungle when he fought George Foreman?
Yeah.
Now, again, in my era, Mike Tyson was the man in his time. But in the 70s, before my time, it was George Foreman. He was like the most feared boxer. And when he was, I think he was 24, Muhammad Ali was like 32 or 33. And Muhammad Ali decided to fight George Foreman. And it was so bad that his own wife begged him not to fight George Foreman. Right. People like his trainer, do not fight this guy. He's too young. He's too strong. And Muhammad Ali said something that stuck with me that I just never forget. He said, while everybody was focusing on his strengths, I focused on his weakness, and his weakness was his stamina. He cannot fight for a long time.
Right.
That's when he created the rope-a-dope.
The rope-a-dope.
And he said, the rope-a-dope, exactly. He strategized. He said, if I can just let him tire himself out, I can beat him. And it worked out to plan. And I watched the documentary. And if you watch the documentary, around at the end of the sixth round, Muhammad Ali whispered in George Foreman's ear when they was hugging. And he told George Foreman, he said, that's all you got, big boy? And George Foreman said on that documentary, he said, I knew it was over and I was about to lose because I had gave him everything I can give him for 6 rounds. In the 7th round, Muhammad Ali knocked him out. Made that man retire for over 10. That's how emotionally it crushed him. He retired for 10 years.
And then
so
the
that's
comeback.
Just something that, yeah, he did make a great comeback. And so that's just something I just thought about in business. You know, don't focus on your strengths, focus on your weaknesses. And that's why I started doing the videos. And I just want to showcase people on video. The camera don't lie. What I do and what I can do. And that's the video, YouTube is one of the main reasons that my success is where it is, because I'm not afraid to show what I do.
I think you're doing a motivational and business advice part of it, not just the floor sanding part of it. Is that correct?
Yes, I've actually had the opportunity to speak at certain conventions and things like that, to just speak about motivation. And when I speak of motivation, I'm basically just sharing my own life experience. And again, I think we all have a story. So I'm just sharing with the world of who Courtney Lee is and where Courtney Lee has come from, and where I just see myself heading in the future. And I'm just the type of person, I'm not afraid to share, my story, because we all have a story and we all have, things that we have been through in life. And I don't think none of us should be ashamed of that, because we're human. We're not perfect. And also to show, I've had guys, man, when you have a person, call you and tell you. I had a guy about 2 years ago. He said, Courtney, I just want to thank you, man, because you actually saved my life. You actually saved my life. And those are the kind of things that keeps me going. When I get those messages and those phone calls, just by being an inspiration to people, it just keeps you going, because you just never know how you can impact someone's life, on the positive side, to just make them want to become better, so they can, at the end of the day, I think at the end of the day, most of us, for the most part, have the same goals. And that's just, we want to live a good, comfortable life and just be able to take care of our families. And that's all, even me, I just want to live a good, comfortable life, be able to take care of my family. Of course, me and my wife travel, and if it gets to a point where our daughters, decide to have kids, we'd be great. But it's, hopefully there'll be a ways from now. But just want to live a good, comfortable life. And I think a lot of that, it just comes from, following your true path, treating people right. One thing about me, or I teach guys, especially when I get in this industry, and even with the maintenance side, treat people right. I had a lady call me yesterday. There's a lot guy who follows me on Facebook, and he's local. He tried to get into the hardwood floor maintenance. And even though it's maintenance, again, $1,000 screen and recoat job can turn into a $10,000 sanding job if you don't know what you're doing. And this is like the 3rd time that a person have called me locally and said that this certain individual tried to perform a service on their wood floors and didn't do a good job. And I tell guys all the time when I do my my videos, is that when things go wrong, your true test in entrepreneurship is going to determine if you are willing to take care of your mistakes. Are you a real problem solver? And I've had floors, not last year, but the year before, I spent over $20,000 out of pocket having floors corrected, because that's when I take on the floor, like you said earlier, when you take on a floor, when you take on a job, that's your floor.
Yeah.
Okay. The customer doesn't want to hear, oh, this and that. No, you took on this job. You told us what you can do, what you was going to do, and you didn't do it. what are you going to do now? So that's my thing, is because this is my thing, is that we can always make money. We can always, we want to lose money, you want to spend money, you're going to make money, or you invest money, save money. You can always replace money, but you cannot replace real relationships. And two of those clients that in 2020 that I had to have their floor sanded, don't you know, those same two clients have become great representatives for my company. They still use me. They still refer me. One of them is a real estate agent. Her husband owns a auto mechanic shop. He works on my cars. He let me clean his building. His wife has referred me to some of her clients. And this is after, because my thing is this, I owned up to my mistake. We live in an era now. 20 years ago, you didn't have Google reviews. You didn't have the internet. So if you did a bad job, the neighbor might tell people who they work with. They might tell, their local neighbors. But now, do you know how many carpet cleaning companies I've seen go out of business in the last 10 years based off just reviews? Because now that people can go online and voice their opinion to the world about a company,
you can't fail. You know how you can't fail, you particularly, and when I hire people for my team, and I have probably the best team I've had in 25 years, is, and my guys will ask, well, we got a lot of competition out there. I'm like, yes, but okay. We were brought together as a team because there's a lot of H's in there. You're honest, you're humble, you're helpful. I had a new team of salesmen come in. I go, if you forget everything, even if you don't know about flooring, whatever, you can't lose if you're just constantly focusing on being helpful.
The customers, they are on you from the time you pull up in your van. Mm-hmm. They're looking at your van. I have clients who have gave me compliments just by pulling up in a clean wrap van. Mm-hmm. Courtney, thank you so much. I had a lady tell me it felt so good just seeing your company logo on your truck. She said these other guys pull up in these all white vans and I get nervous because I already don't know who they are, so like you said, man, it's just certain things that you just can't pretend. So it's all about how you make people feel. Michael Jordan, okay? I'm a big sports guy. Michael Jordan in his era, when people went to go watch Chicago Bulls, when you turned your TV on to watch a Bulls game, you was not watching for the Bulls. You was not watching Scottie Pippen. You was watching for Michael Jordan. Right. And Michael Jordan, I tell people like this is how you know you have a niche, when you have that spark. Michael Jordan can score 50 points just shooting jump shots. Oh, Michael scored 50. But if Michael do that one spectacular thing in the air, that one spectacular layup, that one spectacular dunk, people felt like they got their money worth.
You know what I'm going to do is I have about 4 quick fire questions that we ask everybody at the end of the podcast, but I like you. This is a first in all things wood floor history. I got 11 for you.
Thank you.
I changed these up because I think these are tailored towards you. I'm going to ask you these. You give me the quickest, easiest, fastest answer to these questions that you can, and we'll roll from there. And here they are. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, sir.
What's your biggest pet peeve about the job that you do or the industry you're in?
Biggest pet peeve is when I do occasionally have those clients that sign up for maintenance, but they expect a brand new looking floor.
If you weren't in the wood floor industry, what would you think you have been doing?
I've always looked at food as art, so I would probably be a chef, culinary art school. That would have been my second option if I didn't get into the cleaning industry. The home service industry would have been cooking.
With the work that you do every day, what do you think? Do you have a favorite tool that you use particularly?
Yes, I love the roller. I love the roll polyurethane.
How about what's the best thing about the job that you do?
The outcome, just seeing the transformation of the job from going from a dirty, unprotected wax floor to an almost brand new looking floor within one day.
What about, is there anything that you're particularly, whether it's work or just business, that you're really proud of?
Oh yes. My presence that I have brought to the cleaning industry. Yes, sir.
Anything that you know that ever was the worst thing that ever happened to you on a job?
Yes, the worst thing that has ever happened to me on a job, on a hardwood job, is when I used a certain polyurethane and I didn't use it correctly, and it peeled, and I had to get the whole floor sanded.
Oh, that's not good. Any advice to newcomers at what you do, what the type of work you do? Any advice to the new people?
Yes. Be insured and have money in the bank. So when something goes wrong, because it's going to go wrong, you have the resources to have that job fixed.
You got carpeting in your house?
Yes.
Damn. LVT, laminate, LVP?
Electric vinyl plank floors, downstairs, carpet upstairs.
Man, you're losing points here, buddy. I'm on it. All right. How about this one? If a Lifetime movie channel comes out and they're doing the story of your life and your career, who plays you?
Wow, who plays me? If I can't play me, man, I'll have to say upcoming actor right now. I'll go with Michael B. Jordan.
Listen, I had a great time. I told you, 10 minutes turns out to be an hour and a half. I really appreciate it. Hey, I'm calling Michael Purser and a bunch of other people. We're trying to put a collective crazy podcast. I think we got plenty enough people. Maybe we'll all go out to Wisconsin and drive Wood Floor Business crazy. And we'll meet in their conference room, and eat their cookies and stuff. Hey, I really appreciate your time with me, man. I greatly appreciate it. And hopefully we'll talk again real soon.
Thank you, Steve. I greatly appreciate this opportunity. Can't wait to hear it. And I greatly appreciate you and the magazine for giving me these opportunities, because I really believe that these opportunities right here are just going to help me in my journey.
Well, you earned it. And we will talk soon, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Steve. See you later.
All right. Take care now.
You can read more from Courtney Lee in the Next Gen article in the February-March 2023 issue of Wood Floor Business. If you don't have the print issue, you can find it at woodfloorbusiness.com. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, please rate and review All Things Wood Floor, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.